Let's just calm down and discuss this rationally.
God damn you! Bill you people are scum! You wanted to destroy women and enslave them all! That's all you want to do! That's the only emotion you feel!
Look! I realize passions are high. Clearly you both care very deeply about this issue.
You destroyed something beautiful!
We turned something ugly into something beautiful!
You'll both have your chance to speak!
Look, obviously this is a complex issue with pros and cons on both sides.
Are you seriously both sidesing this?
You know, I'm old enough to remember a time before the president wiped his ass with the concept of both sides by applying it to white freaking nationalists. And back in ye olden days, considering both sides of just about any issue was the only way to truly understand it. So, yeah, we're both sidesing this. Edgesword, try hard, Goodman. I've been putting it off for over a year, but now it's finally time to walk this plank and dive headfirst into the bitter, heated argument that has fractured our nation and torn discourse itself a new eye patch. It's time to talk about the recent changes to Pirates of the Caribbean. Over the past year and a half, the California, Florida, and Paris versions of the iconic ride all shut down for a few months and reopened with significant alterations. For one thing, in California, they got rid of that Davy Jones projected waterfall effect that was cool the first time but very quickly became tiresome, and in its place, they reinstated some vintage narration.
These be the last friendly words you hear.
And they added a really nifty new tableau where a captured pirate skeleton turns into a flesh and blood pirate, which I think is a really cool transition from only seeing the skeletons of dead pirates from days gone by to traveling back to those days and seeing living pirates pillage, plunder, rifle, loot, kidnap, ravage, and give zero hoots. But of course, that's not the change that's gotten the most attention.
Here it is. This is the wench auction. That's right, I said wench.
Below a sign reading, "Auction, take a wench for a bride," a row of kidnapped, tied-up women await their turn to be sold off to a sparse crowd of drunken reprobates. The auctioneer is in the middle of hard-selling an overweight woman, but the scurvy bidders impatiently demand the voluptuous Redhead.
We want the Redhead!
But ever the professional, the auctioneer ignored them for 51 years. And now
one of the greatest scenes in theme park history has been castrated, watered down, and ground into politically correct garbage water without even so much as a going out of business clearance sale, all because of a few perpetually offended busybodies.
Seems like you were the one offended, my good bitch.
No, you're offended! Why do you always have to be so offended? Why?
In the new scene, the Redhead, now simply named Red, is one of the pirates and is voiced by Vamber Warrior herself, Grey Griffin.
All right, just kick her a pirate booty! They took out the human trafficking portion, which apparently was beloved. People are angry at me.
Red's helping the auctioneer sell various items being stolen from wealthy members of the gentry who have replaced the tied-up women. Instead of the Redhead, the bidders want the rum because movie reference. And the overweight woman is still an overweight woman, but now she's holding a chicken and some eggs. But unlike that chicken and those eggs, we know which of these two scenes came first, and not everyone is happy about that.
Everyone but me is so offended!
And who better to finally parse out this thorny intersection between art and feminism once and for all than a couple of cishet white dudes. Is he done yet? Oh,
no. This is worse than the Gillette.
Maybe you better go first. Gladly. You know, you bring up a lot of good points about how complicated and multifaceted this issue really is, but if I had to boil it all down to just one specific factor that causes me to prefer the new version over the human trafficking scene, it would probably be the subtle yet inescapable little detail that the human trafficking scene was a goddamn human trafficking scene. Look at it! Human women being bought and sold as chattel in the middle of a slow-moving kids ride that doesn't even have a height requirement. I honestly don't even know why we're debating this. There's nothing to debate. Human trafficking scenes don't belong at Disney parks, full stop. And yet, this one unaccountably ran for over 50 years. It was only considered okay because everyone was used to it. But take a moment and think about how truly deranged it is. You could never get away with it today, so why keep it around today?
Because you could never get away with it today. This was the one measly little corner of this park that wasn't afraid to be dark and edgy.
Oh, spare me, Frank Miller. Ooh, I'm too insecure about adulthood to just admit that I like children's media, so I'm gonna make it needlessly dark and edgy for no reason and pretend it was meant for adults all along.
Was anyone even asking for this? Like you said, it was there for over half a century. I don't recall any outrage over it.
Nope, apparently outrage over this ride is your job. Here's a wacky thought. Maybe Disney wanted to change it. Walt specifically designed these parks to be places where rides could evolve and change with the times.
I'm so bloody sick of that excuse. It doesn't mean every change is for the better.
Well, this one was. For God's sake, it's 2018. Probably 2019 by the time this comes out. You want outdated storytelling from a different era? Go watch Gone with the Wind. This is Disneyland, bitch.
Let me try to explain this using words simple enough for even you to understand. You're not supposed to like it! They're bloody pirates! Of course selling wenches is wrong! Of course it's a shock to the system to witness such a horrifying spectacle ripped from the pages of Dante! That's the whole bloody point! This is ugly, wretched, depraved behavior being thrown in your stupid, sheltered faces, and you're supposed to be repulsed and disgusted! That's why the pirates end up in jail at the end! They've committed all manner of atrocities! Stealing treasure, torturing the mayor, doing God knows what to those piggies! Kindle, char, inflame, ignite, burn up the city! They're really a fright! Should we change that ending too, so it doesn't offend people whose houses have burned down? I mean, it's California, so that's what, half the guests?
Hang on, I'm sorry to interrupt, but wasn't your hook on the other hand?
I don't know what you're talking about. Me point is this, just because the ride depicts it, doesn't mean it endorses it. And I'm sorry if your precious sensibilities are too delicate to know the difference.
Okay, let's say we accept that the auction scene has to show us that these pirates are criminals. The new scene does that too!
You really think these pirates bought the wares they're peddling? You really think these new people lined up want to be there either? Look at their powdered wigs. These are clearly upper-class one-percenters getting their mansions and priceless possessions mercilessly ransacked by a badass pirate queen with hair the color of fire.
The pirates are still committing a crime, but now the victims actually kinda deserve it.
Quite the statement from a company that'll have you arrested if you try that in real life.
Well, like you said, depiction is not always endorsement. But that doesn't mean it has to be gratuitously rapey.
You know what else was gratuitously rapey? Actual pirates! Pirates kidnapped women and sold them into slavery all the bloody time! It's called historical accuracy! Look it up if it doesn't trigger you too much!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if the ride was historically accurate, the slaves wouldn't all be white.
I demand to speak to your manager!
And the new scene is no less historically accurate. You know that there were female pirates, right?
Name 3!
Anne Bonny, Grace O'Malley, Ching Shi.
Name 12 more!
Rachel Wall, Charlotte Badger, Flora Byrne, Lai Choi San, Jean de Clisson, Anne Laveau, Jacquette Delahaye, Mary Reed, Mary Critchett, Maria Lindsay, Margaret Croak, and Sadie the Goat.
Now name 12 fictional female pirates!
Elizabeth Swann, Elaine Marley Threepwood, Art Blaside, Zamira Drakisha, Morgan Adams, Anne of the Indies, Angelica, Anna Maria, Nami, Izzy, Ruth, and now Red. Deal with it.
Never!
Seems like the real issue is more that Disney's de-emphasizing your preferred version of history. That of an unquestioned patriarchy surrounded by submissive wenches whose only purpose is to serve you.
In the new ride, she's literally serving the men drinks.
The gentlemen want the rum! Don't ya, boys?
Yeah! They basically turned a prostitute into a Hooters waitress. Is that really that much better?
Kinda, yeah. Even if that was true, at least waiting tables is a semi-respectable job.
Oh, I see. So you're a swerf, are ya? What do you got against sex workers?
Sex never worked for me. Why should it work for anyone? And again, it wasn't sex work, it was human trafficking. One of the ladies was in tears. She didn't want this.
But the redhead wasn't in tears. If anything, she was soaking up the spotlight. Hell, for all we know, perhaps she already was a sex worker before the pirates invaded. Perhaps this auction represents nothing more than a change in management.
Oh, you are disgusting.
Thank you. I keep trying to tell you, these pirates are not role models. They're bloody pirates.
You're sure there's still a difference?
You might recall a certain little movie back in 2003 when Disney caught lightning in a bottle by letting a pre-garbage person Tonto Scissorhands
I may have just said that.
Do a temporarily delightful Keith Richards impression for 2.5 hours. This gave Disney a massive live-action franchise at a time when they desperately needed one, and in the process of milking that cash cow dry as a skull and bone, at some point they decided pirates should become a commodity unto themselves, and to that end they tried, God, how they tried, to make the very concept of pirates as big a success with boys as the princess line had been with girls.
Where you really are a princess. Or a pirate.
So, yes, thanks to the Disney corporate marketing machine, pirates are role models now. For the last 15 years, they've literally been telling little kids,
You are a pirate!
Kids get to be made over into the pirate they've always dreamed about. There's even a mermaid package and an empress package that girls can pick from.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any mermaids or empresses on the actual ride. Just these ladies. Until Red picked up a flintlock, this was the only way little girls could see themselves fitting into this world. And God only knows how much of that they internalized.
Well, you do make a good point. I mean, where else in this park could girls possibly find positive role models besides, oh, I don't know, the princesses? Pretty much all of Fantasyland?
False equivalence. The handsome princes in fairy tales aren't treated like prizes to be won. They're fully fleshed out human beings.
Quick, what's the name of the prince in Snow White?
I want to say Larry?
He had no bloody name.
Okay, but he wasn't a slave.
Well, not till he married her.
He was a prince. He was freaking royalty.
And I would have treated the redhead like a queen if I'd won her. Like a queen, do you hear me? But now she'll never get her turn on that auction block, and it's all your fault.
Okay, let's lighten the mood a little, shall we? You guys brought up the movies earlier, and I thought it might be helpful to hear from someone who worked on those movies to offer some of his expert analysis on all this. Ladies and gentlemen, the co-writer of all 5 Pirates movies, Mr. Terry Rossio.
Hi, I'm Terry Rossio! Vaccinations cause autism, and calling us anti-vaxxers is the same thing as the N-word!
Ugh, never mind. So, is everyone involved in the Pirates movies just a horrible person now?
That's the real curse of the Black Pearl.
Wasn't your eye patch on the other eye?
I'm sorry, I don't speak English.
Are we done yet?
Oh, no, not by a bloody sight. You can sit there and wallow in your pungent, performative progressiveness all the livelong day, but even with one eye, I can see right through you. This ride isn't as woke as you think it is, matey. Answer me this, oh whitest of white feminists. Why didn't Tiny get to be a pirate?
Who's Tiny?
Tiny is the cruelly ironic name the Imagineers saw fit to give to the fat lady.
Where's her pirate outfit? When does she get to grab a cutlass and join in on all this delightfully decadent debauchery? Well, I mean,
I don't know if you bothered to notice, but a lot of the cruelest jokes in the original scene were aimed directly at Tiny.
Stout-hearted and corn-fed she be. Shift your cargo, dearie. Show 'em your larboard side.
Even our beloved Uncle Walt just couldn't resist fat-shaming her.
Here their shipmates are auctioning off the town beauties. And there's the biggest bargain of all.
Well, all the more reason to change it then.
But did they change it enough? I mean, they're not subverting the fat shaming issue, they're just avoiding it.
I thought you hated change.
I'm just looking for a little consistency. When you deliberately make the hot chick your new feminist icon, are you not still pandering to the male gaze?
There's nothing wrong with being attractive.
Never said there was, but you can't deny the pervasive lookism in our society today. If the original ride told little girls that only boys can be pirates, doesn't the new scene tell them only boys and the occasional pretty girl can be pirates?
Huh.
Intersectionality is indeed a harsh mistress. I don't have to tell you it's not easy being obese, but...
But it's even harder for obese women, constantly pressured to conform to society's impossible beauty standards.
Don't they deserve a role model, too?
Oh my God. You're right. How are you right? Yeah, I'm a little confused myself. Who's on which side now? I don't know. You're the one who decided to rip off ContraPoints.
They've even got Tiny holding sources of food in case it wasn't obvious enough. In the original, she was compared to a cow, and in the new one, she's holding a chicken. Either way, they're associating her with livestock. Hell, she was smiling in the original and frowning in the new one. Even she knows she got a raw deal here.
Yeah, but look, it might not be perfect, but it's still better than women being bartered as objects or chased around in circles all day.
Chased around in circles for their food, right? Don't pretend we haven't been down this road before.
In 1997, all the women folk being chased in circles by lusty pirates were given trays of food and drinks.
He's only chasing me for my food.
And a lustful pirate who'd stolen a lady's undergarments while she fearfully hid naked in a barrel was given a different deadly sin and turned into a gluttonous pirate holding an turkey leg. I guess in the 90s it was better to be Homer Simpson than Pepe Le Pew because it's always okay to make fun of fat people. Imagineering legend and Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me lyricist Xavier Atencio criticized the changes, saying, "This is Pirates of the Caribbean, not Boy Scouts of the Caribbean."
And then, of course, came 2006.
That was the year no fewer than 3 separate animatronics of future has-been Hunter S. Jump Street here were forcibly injected into the ride to cross-promote the movies, and suddenly not a single character could shut up about it.
Surrender, Captain Jack Sparrow.
Where'll be Captain Jack Sparrow?
Search all you want, Captain Jack Sparrow.
Whenever Poochie's not on screen, all the other characters should be asking, "Where's Poochie?"
And guess what? All 3 Grindelwald McWife-beater robots are still there, making boorish, drunken fools of themselves right in front of your shiny new feminism.
When you're right, you're right. We still have a long way to go. But I'd rather go forwards than backwards.
But to what point and purpose?
Look, I'm not against change. Seems like every time they change Haunted Mansion, they make it better. But every time they change Pirates, they make it worse because they change it for all the wrong reasons. The rules for what is and isn't offensive keep getting more and more stringent, and when you start caving into the oversensitive self-appointed censors and try to adapt something designed to be gross and offensive to their lofty standards, how can it not eventually turn into Boy Scouts of the Caribbean?
They revamped this ride because of massive complaints from 2 people.
Wow, we are using a lot of Simpsons clips.
When will it end? When will this water ride finally be watered down enough for your liking?
Never.
So you admit it.
What's to admit? That time doesn't stop? That Disneyland is a theme park, not a museum, and we shouldn't try to preserve it in amber? The point is not to reach the horizon and give up. The point is to keep finding new horizons. Things are never going to be perfect. That's no reason not to try.
So what's next? Getting rid of the Headhunter tribe and the Jungle Cruise? Or the broad accents in the Tiki Room?
Yeah, hopefully.
People like you keep referring to offensiveness and PC culture like arbitrary standards that just came the hell out of nowhere to ruin your precious toys. Because to you, they did come out of nowhere. They came from marginalized voices you never bothered paying attention to.
All right, that is pretty much nowhere.
And it never occurs to you that there might be genuine reasons why they feel differently about media you never thought twice about. Instead, you pull slippery slope narratives out of your rectum, slap the suffix gate on your medium of choice, and frame everyone who questions the status quo as some shadowy cabal threatening to destroy free speech itself. Yes, Mr. Sherman, everything's too PC.
And it's nonsense. There's no agenda. There's no conspiracy. There's no spooky social justice goblins trying to steal your Blazing Saddles Blu-ray in the dead of night. It's just evolution, baby.
So you're just gonna keep on finding new things that offend you so you can pat yourself on the back for being offended. Don't you have any respect for history?
Respect for history? You sound like you're defending Confederate statues. Very fine people on both sides.
Well, maybe the rest of us don't appreciate history being sanitized.
Then what the hell are you doing at a Disney park?
I like Dole Whips!
You know what I like? Not being a concern-trolling garbage person who only sees women as items for purchase.
And I like not being a malcontented weakling who can't tell the bloody difference between fiction and reality.
Oh yeah, I'm weak when you can't even handle a ride changing.
This isn't just some meaningless attraction no one cares about. This is Pirates of the Caribbean!
Even Pirates of the Caribbean isn't exempt from the inexorable march of time.
It's pronounced Caribbean!
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 each other your viewpoints on the ride, not so you could fling personal insults. For God's sake, just because someone prefers the original version doesn't mean they condone human trafficking, and just because someone prefers the new version doesn't mean they're gonna censor all provocative media. Just because a work of art is problematic doesn't mean it's not good. And just because it's good doesn't mean it's not problematic. And I cannot be the only person who is sick and tired of every goddamn buddy on the internet conflating the two arguments. Everyone's on either one extreme or another, and they fuel each other's extremism, and it only gets worse and worse, and that's why we can't have nice things. Sometimes, I dare say even most of the time, what you like is just what you like. No more, no less. Just because someone's criticizing a thing you like doesn't mean they're attacking you. And it certainly doesn't give you an excuse to attack back. Nobody's lives are at stake here. It's just art and media. And if you feel like you have to berate someone personally just because they disagree with your opinion, then how secure in that opinion could you have possibly been? Well, what about your opinion? Yeah, I mean, what do you think? What do I think? I agree with both of you. What? Why? Because I am both of you! And this change struck me right in the dead center of the dichotomy I've been struggling with for years now. I want to be a better and more progressive citizen of this planet and do whatever I can to mitigate the atrocities of the past and the present, but I also have a deep, abiding love and respect for transgressive art and offensive humor, even when I don't always agree with its underlying premise. I can't stand the sheer mindless sociopathy of the far right, but the endless infighting and self-righteousness of the far left can get annoying too. I love The Daily Show, and I love South Park. So I did what any normal human being with 12,000 YouTube subscribers would do. I created straw man avatars to represent the extremes of my opinions, and I pitted them against each other like animals in a cage. That's all we are? That's all you are. Wow. Yeah. Drink up me hearties, yo-ho. Let's change the subject, shall we? Ooh. It says here Disney might be making a 6th Pirates movie without Johnny Depp. Yay!
A woman has a right to a drink or two without worrying about what you will do.
Thanks very much for watching, folks. What do you think? Are you hashtag Team Edgesword or hashtag Team Tryhard? Do you think I represented both sides fairly? Do you think both sides deserve to be represented fairly? Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to get a nice debate going. Emphasis on nice. Please keep things respectful. As always, trolls and bullies will be blocked. This video was made possible by the very generous contributions to my Patreon. Special thanks to all my patrons, and huge special thanks in particular to Mark Aquino, Bennett Ballard, Ryan Enos, Max Fagan, Noah Fine, Wesley Fox, Michael Hamilton, Jacob Harris, Tom Hart, Houston Housley, Morgan Kellis, Dustin Koski, Nat Potter, Austin Sumowitz, and Sydney Sumowitz. Extra huge special thanks to Keith Baggs, super extra huge special thanks to Ryan Walterson, and super duper extra huge special thanks to executive producers Joe Goldmark, Edgar Barocho, and Landon McAfee. If I mispronounced anyone's name, please send me a message letting me know. Please like, share, and subscribe. And just one more thing. I would not have been able to make this video without the very generous contributions of my very good friends David Gansel and Alessandra Dreyer. And just a couple days ago, as I record this, they got in a pretty bad car accident. They're doing okay for the most part. They're out of the hospital, they're in fairly good spirits, but they will need some physical therapy, and their car is totaled. They've set up a GoFundMe, the link to it is in the description, and if you would consider donating to it, I sure would appreciate it, and I know they would too. Okay, next item on the agenda, peace in the Middle East. Now, I've been giving this a lot of thought lately, and I think the best course of action here is that we need to go back in time and stop religion from being invented.
So he really thinks there's two other people there?
Like the man said, it does things to you.
Why are the walls closing in?
'Cause it's yo-ho, but we don't say ho.
'Cause ho is disrespectful.
that ain't good.